Your brain is biologically wired to keep you broke. Look around you. Most of the people you see every day, the people you work with, the people you pass on the street, 95% of them are on a predetermined path to financial mediocrity. And the most terrifying part isn't the economy, the inflation rate, or the housing market. The terrifying part is that the cage keeping them trapped is entirely invisible, constructed by their own cognitive biases. They think they're making rational, independent choices about their money. They are wrong. Welcome to Facto Vision. Society feeds you a comforting lie that hard work and a good salary are the undeniable equations for wealth. But the data tells a vastly different story. Wealth is not a byproduct of intelligence, and poverty is rarely a lack of effort. Financial destiny is dictated by psychology, emotional regulation, and biological impulses that most people never learn to control. Today, we are dissecting the 4 hidden psychological laws that guarantee the vast majority of people will never build true wealth, and exactly what the 5% do to escape the trap. The first psychological trap, keeping the 95% broke, is a concept formulated by the late Stanford philosopher René Girard, known as mimetic desire. Girard discovered that human beings do not possess autonomous desires. We do not want things because they're inherently valuable. We want things because other people want them. When it comes to money, the middle class plays a relentless status game driven by imitation. They upgrade their cars, inflate their mortgages, and buy designer labels, not for utility, but to signal their position in the hierarchy to their peers. This is the financial death spiral. You cannot build wealth while simultaneously trying to look wealthy. The 95% trade actual compounding capital for the temporary illusion of status. They are purchasing depreciating assets to impress people they subconsciously view as rivals. The second barrier is a cognitive glitch known as loss aversion, first identified by psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky. Their research proved that the psychological pain of losing money is twice as powerful as the psychological pleasure of gaining that exact same amount. The 95% are financially paralyzed by the fear of losing what little they have, so they play not to lose rather than playing to win. Because of loss aversion, the average person leaves their capital decaying in a safe savings account while inflation quietly erodes its purchasing power. They refuse to invest in markets, start businesses, or acquire assets because these actions involve volatility and the terrifying possibility of temporary loss. They crave the illusion of safety, but in a fiat currency system designed to inflate, choosing absolute safety is the only mathematically guaranteed way to lose. To understand the third reason, you have to look at your brain's reward circuitry. Behavioral economists call it hyperbolic discounting. This is the hardwired human tendency to choose a small, immediate reward over a significantly larger, delayed reward. Evolutionarily, this made sense. If our ancestors found calories, they needed to consume them immediately before they rotted or were stolen. But in the modern financial ecosystem, this biological impulse is weaponized against you. Credit cards, buy now, pay later schemes, and one-click purchasing are specifically engineered to exploit hyperbolic discounting. The brain receives an immediate hit of dopamine from the acquisition of a new item, completely blinding the rational prefrontal cortex to the long-term devastation of compounding interest debt. The 95% sacrifice their future freedom to medicate their present anxiety with consumerism. Finally, we arrive at the silent killer of wealth, Parkinson's law. Originally coined in 1955 by Cyril Northcote Parkinson, the law states that work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. But applied to finance, it dictates a brutal reality. Expenses inevitably rise to meet income. When the average person gets a raise, their lifestyle expands instantly to absorb the new capital. They justify this as deserving a better life. Psychologists call it the hedonic treadmill. No matter how much money they make, their baseline of expectations adjusts upward, leaving them in the exact same state of financial stress, just at a higher tax bracket. They are high-income earners, but they are absolutely broke. Income does not equal wealth. The gap between your ego and your income equals wealth. Forget everything you've been told about grinding, hustling, or finding a secret side hustle. If wealth was simply about working hard, construction workers and nurses would be billionaires. If it was about raw intelligence, university professors would own the world. Wealth is not an economic outcome. It is a psychological threshold. So what is the fundamental architecture of the 5%? What do they actually do differently? They perform a radical psychological decoupling. First, they opt out of the mimetic status game entirely. The wealthy stay rich by living like they're poor. The poor stay poor by acting like they're wealthy. The 5% ruthlessly protect their capital from lifestyle creep, weaponizing the gap between their income and their expenses to buy assets, things that pay them simply for owning them. Second, they completely sever the relationship between their time and their money. The 95% view money as a wage, a direct compensation for hours given to an employer. The 5% view money as a tool of leverage. They use their capital to buy back their time through investments, equity in businesses, and intellectual property. Finally, they conquer their biological impulses. They train their brain to find dopamine not in the immediate purchase of a consumer good, but in the slow, unseen compounding of their portfolio. They're comfortable being misunderstood, looking average, and playing a decade-long game while everyone else is desperately trying to win the weekend. You have a choice. You can continue acting on your biological defaults, chasing immediate status, yielding to loss aversion, and feeding the hedonic treadmill. That is the default path, and it is crowded. Or you can choose to rewire your financial psychology, step off the treadmill, and build quiet, unbreakable leverage. You will not find this level of absolute truth on mainstream feeds designed to sell you things. If you are ready to stop being a psychological casualty of the modern economy and want to understand the raw mechanics of power, wealth, and the human mind, subscribe to Facto Vision. We don't do fluff. We give you the facts. Until next time, protect your focus and protect your capital.